Welcome to episode 142. Mike is back. Had to renegotiate a contract with him, and
with Jesus, bro. I'm not good at getting sick. I'm like the definition of the man flu.
So he's back. We're talking wrestling. Lots and lots to talk about. There we go. We can get our chat going. And we might do 2 episodes this week because there is so much to talk about. We have no agenda other than
lots of good wrestling talk.
Yes, lots of good wrestling talk because a lot happened this past weekend. I went over to the Ironman at Walsh Jesuit High School, and we're going to talk about Ironman, and it was crazy. Iron Mike. So it was crazy. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool to be actually media hanging out. I like the Crown Point Brownsburg people. They're fun to hang out and talk with, especially now that we don't have the competition between. Not that those guys have. It seems like they let their guard down a little bit more than they usually do, knowing that I'm not scouting against them and stuff. But it was pretty cool. One thing, walking up there or driving up Friday morning, I'm driving up. I'm like, man, there's no way they can have school today, is there? There's no way this school can have this. They can have school, and I'm like, there's gonna be no parking. This is gonna be ridiculous. I pull up, and I was right. They didn't have school, which is amazing. That's only something in Ohio they do. So I was just like, you got to be kidding. There's no way they could have school. But yeah, they takes over the whole school. They have the day off of school, and it's a pretty big event for them. I can only imagine how much money they make with the concessions and gate and all that stuff.
Yeah, it looked like seating was really good there, so they spaced out really well for you guys.
Oh yes, very spacious.
I was supposed to go with you, which I was really excited, and then Tuesday, what was it, like Monday night I started feeling a little bit under the weather. Tuesday I had texted you, I was like, dude, I don't feel very good. Let's try to go later in the week. And then luckily you guys had a great show with Quinn. Quinn did an amazing job.
Yep.
I got another guy loves to talk wrestling, and we've known that about Quinn for a long time. And then Wednesday, and we were supposed to leave Thursday, Friday I was feeling like I was gonna die. I was trying to watch as much as I could. We were texting about good matches, and you're in 2 different gyms. I'm asking, did you see this or did you see that? But Indiana, well represented, man. I've been telling you for years the media side's way easier, way less stress.
Yes.
It's a cooler environment. You get to hang a little bit more. But it sounds like it was a good time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's 2 gyms, and I called as many matches as I could. I think I got adopted by the Brownsburg team because on Saturday, every time I was standing beside Derek, they'd win, and so he almost put a leash around me because Dickman and Hockaday, I think, both avenged some losses from earlier, this fall, spring. That they'd wrestled guys, and then I think Frazier did the same thing Saturday morning. I think he lost one of the guys either in the blood round or that first round. Someone that beat him.
That blood round match. It was one of the guys he had wrestled at Elite 8, right?
Yeah, and I think beat him fairly handily by 2. What we would consider at that level, pretty handily. So that was good. I think Dickman avenged a couple losses. Unfortunately. Hockaday couldn't take out the other Rainey brother that he took out the other one earlier this year. So
it was close though. It was a good match.
Oh yeah, it was a.
What was it, 30 or 45 seconds left? It was tied.
Yeah, and it was
and he was down
7-7. Yeah, and just didn't. They had a little bit of a game plan, and he, you don't want to roll around with those guys, and Jake decided to roll around with him. So and. Those Rainey brothers, man, they're exciting to watch. They are high flyers. There's another match, the one Rainey brother. I don't know if there's a highlight of him wrestling, and these 2 just scrapped for 45 seconds and no score. It was crazy. They got thrown. So they're fun. Just some high level wrestling. It's pretty crazy. It kind of set in when you're seeing Blair versus Crown Point or Brownsburg, and I'm sitting there like, I never envisioned seeing this at an in-season high school event.
Oh yeah, Wyoming Sam, and then
Yeah.
you're like watching, you know, we always I feel like we always put out this idea like our top guys could compete with the top guys in the country, and I always felt that way, and not like obviously we didn't have a champ yet. Like I think the more we go, the better like we'll show, but we knew we could be in the mix, and I thought those guys really went out there and showed that Indiana is very good. And like obviously those guys are the cream of the crop. We were kind of talking about it a little bit on Wednesday, kind of texting back and forth. Um, we're like living in a wild time in Indiana wrestling where like those teams are so good right now.
Mm-hmm.
Center Grove in that same breath, like you're watching them wrestle really good programs and like almost shut them out. Like Crown Point last or 2 weeks ago wrestled Chesterton, and it came down. The only match that Chesterton won was 32. Was DeMarco got a win the last match of the night. And then Chesterton beats Portage beats Maryville, and it's like, man, like, are they that much better than like, everybody? And then you see, what Brownsburg did to Avon,
Mm-hmm.
who's a really good team. Like, and you're like, man, Avon must be down. Like, nah, not really. They have the Chefs, they have the Rios, they're good.
Yeah, it's Syra. That they have some solid kids. There's I
And
mean
like, then you see something like, and it's not like a true like thing like the Brownsburg B, but they had some of their top guys in there
mm-hmm.
go out and beat Round Cali, who's incredibly good.
Yeah, they're A&a-half team.
Yeah,
or B&a-half. I don't know what you want to call it. Yeah, yeah. It's just there's levels to this, and as going into it, I'm like, how many of our guys could really place at Ironman? In all honesty, I mean, it was. I was hoping for 5 or 6 total. I was like, I could see 2 or 3. I could see us really getting, possibly just, running into some good kids. I mean, Gunnar Henry, they call him Larson this week, ran into 2 really good kids. I mean, I know he was a little bit disappointed, but looking at who he wrestled, it's like, dude, you lost to 2 nationally ranked guys. I mean, you didn't have much room for error, and the first loss he had, he should have had a takedown in the first period, and probably that would have changed a lot of things there. But it's one of those, it's that's a tough tournament, especially down at those lower weights. I thought upper weights, I think we'd do well, but there's no guarantees there. There's no guarantees of if we have 6 or 7 Christian Carols wrestling there, then I'm more confident, But we didn't have. We had a bunch of guys that were either 15 to honorable mention ranking wise, and they came and we had 8 placers, which is crazy.
And I think dude, this is like the top of the top. Like there's a lot, and that was like one of the crazy things, and obviously it was really cool you posted those interviews, and Derek hit it on the nose. Like you're watching state champs go down, and you're like, oh, that guy must be really good, and then that guy goes down.
Yeah,
you're watching guys like the semifinals, and he's an Indiana kid, but Sergio Lumley has an awesome match in the semis, scores with like no time left to win, the number 1 guy in the country. Like I'm shocked they didn't take it to the table, honestly. And they're like, nope, gotcha. Shake his hand. And then he loses in the championship match, a 1-2 match. Last year, Mount Carmel, I think they said they had 3 placers. They had Mendoza, who's incredibly good. He ended up 7th there.
Yeah,
Took 2 losses. He might not get another 2 losses this year.
Yeah, and he was ranked number 1 at 106 for a while.
Yeah.
So that's not even a, that's crazy. And I want to double check because I don't want to. I saw, it was basically within about a half hour. I saw both Jake Hockaday get pinned, and actually probably was a little bit longer, but then Logan Frazier gets pinned. I mean, how many times have you ever seen 2 Indiana State champs get pinned in the same day?
No. And I think it it's good for those guys because winning like breeds complacency, and those guys are gonna have things they can work on, which is the scary part,
Yeah.
right? Like those guys are gonna have video of them losing now, which those guys like Frazier didn't. What did he lose one last year to Sergio?
Yeah.
Hockaday was undefeated or he lost at Carnahan, right?
Yep.
And like you're talking about guys that don't lose very often in season. They're gonna have 50 wins. There's gonna be guys that are going to the state finals with 50 wins, and they might not have wrestled. There's gonna be definitely guys going into the semi-state regional rounds that might have 50 wins that haven't wrestled a single ranked guy, and these guys are gonna have losses to nationally ranked guys.
Yeah.
You know, and they're gonna be able to like improve their game. I thought just kind of watching it was cool that Crown Point got a full team to go. I know we talked about that before. It's incredibly difficult. They have some guys out of the lineup. I know Gavin Gendris will be back pretty soon. I know he's injured. I guess with the rankings and the update, we took a bunch of people out that like haven't been wrestling. So, or if there's like an idea that they're not going to wrestle, we took Christian Carroll out. I took Christian Carroll out. They had a big article in like is it the Elkhart Truth?
Yes.
So, and until that changes, we'll go that way. I know there are some people that have been out, haven't been on the mat, or there's some ineligible guys. So we kind of removed some guys, and we're just gonna play it with. When they're back on the mat, we'll put them back in where they belong. But to that, I think it's good to get some other guys some exposure. I think that the rankings. I was talking to AJ Bradley today actually, and he told me how good I did on the rankings, which I love. And I love the pat on the back. I don't always get that email, but AJ was like, "Man, I would hate to have your job because like 1 through 6 is pretty straightforward, and then 6 through 20 is like, or 7 through 20 is like unreal, like hard. Like those guys are just trading losses all the time."
Yeah.
And he's right. It is hard because it's like, and people will tell you like, "Oh man, like well my guy beat this guy and he lost to this guy," and it's hard. But like there's so many guys even past like 20 that you want to get like some recognition for. And Crown Point took a full team, and they had some guys like Gendris is going to be back, I think, next week, they said. And it was good to see Reinhardt out there, who we were talking off air, but like made himself some real like college money this past weekend.
Yeah. That's he made himself some money this weekend, and I'm not meaning like real, but like college scholarship money. He's on the biggest in-season stage. And made the semifinals, beat a Blair kid, beat a nationally ranked kid, and now he's on everyone's radar as a sophomore, and he's probably going to be a 74, maybe even an 84 pounder in college. I mean, I think he has the frame to probably be an 84 pounder. Don't be surprised to see him up at least 70 next year, or 75, I think is what it will be. So,
well. And you're talking about a kid that's not a football player. I don't believe he plays football at Crown Point. And you're going to lose, you lose those guys. Like, I'm sure coming into high school, there was a lot of coaches that were like, let's see how Leighton does, who had a good tournament also. But Leighton's going to play football in college. Like, that's his path. And he's going to play Big Ten football for a college that produces NFL offensive linemen.
Yes. Yeah. So, one thing that, I don't know if people really understand is, number one, they were the Ohio, which will be our weights next year, and they had a +2 allowance. So a lot of those kids were kind of wrestling up a weight. And I think Crown Point put in basically what I thought would have been their best lineup right now. I don't think Reinhardt could have made 52. So he would have had to made 50,
right?
What?
He would have made 50, right?
It would have been 52 +2, and then it was 55, or was it 57?
57.
It was 57. So you're talking 59. Definitely, Sammy can make 59, and but he was basically wrestling 170 because that was 67. And you also look at someone like Goodwin. I think probably could have made 67. He wrestled 75, so he's wrestling 7 pounds above. I'm not sure Cruz could have made 77.
Yeah.
With that's kind of where I was like looking at their lineup. I go, they put out their best lineup. I think Cruz is probably a better 182, but they had 190, so he's either 90 or 75, which would have been 77. So he's wrestling up 10 pounds and he looks small. He looks small there.
Well, that's
So
what you kind of said in the interview with Sammy. It was like he was almost wrestling up 10 pounds.
yeah, I mean he's wrestling 67. I mean those guys are. I mean and he's probably about 60 is his perfect weight right now. I mean, college wise, he probably be a 57 pounder right now. I think he'll probably be a 65 because it looks like he enjoys eating. But yeah, he went up a weight and placed fifth.
Yeah.
So.
So I thought Revan did just kind of, and like you get to see some of those guys. Like sometimes it's hard to gauge like how good people are when they're like just killing people, right? Mm-hmm. Like everyone looks really good if you're just like rolling through people. But I thought like at 6, like that Revan Dickman looked really good. I thought Haney did a good job.
Yeah.
I don't know if he ended up winning any, but I thought he scrapped 13. Tough one for Westfall. I thought Haynes did a good job. It's tough, man. Like people might look like, he didn't medal. Like, yeah, that's a really hard weight. Like Seth Mendoza was 7th there.
Yeah. Yeah, he lost to St. Ed's kid in the 5-2 and then lost in overtime. And all the Brownsburg kids won a match, which is good. I mean, just to win a match, sometimes you're looking at Preston Haynes is last year's runner up. Went 1 and 2 there.
Probably has single digit, like probably under 5 losses in his career.
Yeah.
Right. What did he have last year? 3.
Yeah.
And then 3 or 2, and then I don't think did he have 1 or when he got pulled out the year before. So not very many.
Yeah. Unfortunately, the Crown Point and Brownsburg kids aren't going to have those miraculous records anymore. And I can see, honestly, it's going to become more rare as coaches realize that we can get kids into the tournament, that our state tournament has undefeated wrestlers. I know that's one thing Josh Lowe from IndianaMat always gives me a hard time about. It's like, man, you guys have 27 undefeated wrestlers at state. I go, it's because it's kind of just a weirdly, we don't have a lot of real big tournaments and things are spread out in certain areas and some people just don't see each other.
Yeah.
And he's like, we don't even have that, and we have 3 classes, but it's because they all go to Ironman. They have like things like Brecksville and some other tournaments like that are pretty tough that they go to. So Sessa, he knocked off a seeded kid first round.
Yeah.
Which was good. And
Jake, I thought Jake Hockaday looked really good.
Yeah.
He ran into 2 buzzsaws. Like there's no tiptoeing around it. Rainey's really, really good. And who was his other loss to?
DeLuca, who was I think they ended up finishing like 4th and 5th. DeLuca from Blair, and he was in both. I mean, he was in there with DeLuca. It was a real close match, and then I think DeLuca, ended up sealing it at the end, in the 3rd period. But he was in that match. Actually, he might have given up like 5. He gave up 4 in the first period, but then it was pretty even after that. So, but yeah, he was right there. I mean, he was tied with Rainey and then gave up a reversal, tied her up. He gave up like a reversal to his back for some near fall. So,
well, it was tied 7. I think he was down. It was 7-7, and it was like 45. And I'm like, I think I was I had just went to the gas station. I went to Walgreens to get something. And I was trying to watch it on track instead of not like watch it on flow. And I'm like, dude, he's gonna win. He's gonna beat the other Rainey now.
Yeah.
Because all he's got to do is escape, and then he ends up getting. I think he got turned for 3. I think he lost 10-7, right?
Yeah, 9-6. But yeah, that's what
9-6.
I'm
Yeah.
But close. Yeah. So, Frazier had a real good tournament. Lost to Davino, and then Dylan Campbell from Legacy Christian, who was ranked like He was a
Fargo champ at one point, right?
Yeah, he was pretty. I know. I was listening to Willie today, and he was saying that Campbell was going to be like a number 1 or 2 guy, and then he took a couple losses at like Super 32 or took some losses somewhere that he was like right in in that mix. So that was, and then end up finishing 7th. Captor got the you go all that way, and you wrestled Sergio first round.
Yeah. Sergio was runner up. Yeah, Sergio. Yeah, so you get Sergio first match, and good for him. He'll get Sergio again this year. in the duel.
Yeah, got some scouting on him.
Right? Yeah. I thought he was. I mean, that Sergio sets an incredible pace. Sergio's really good.
Yeah.
He's breaking guys. He's breaking national level guys. Like you see guys like going out of bounds, like taking time, and he's like just a machine.
Yeah.
But like that's a tough one, man. You get that one. Ison, I thought wrestled well.
Yep.
Again, just really tough. He lost his last match was an overtime loss, also correct.
It was 4-2. I don't know. It doesn't say overtime, but it's St. Edward kid who I believe placed. So.
And guess what? They get to see all these St. Edward kids again this weekend.
Yeah, it's a great match. Oh, good.
And I think Dylan Campbell's there too, right? I think Legacy Christian's at Crown Point this weekend also.
Yes. It's like, didn't we just see you guys this weekend? So, yeah, and then Parker Reynolds, he went 2-2.
I was really impressed.
Yeah.
Parker Reynolds.
Yeah, for a freshman at 138, that's a weight class where you're not going to see a lot of freshmen.
I thought he had a real tough one out at the bat also, right? Like he kind of got a bad draw.
Yeah, the Greenville kid, I don't know. I mean, it says the kid went 2-2, so he didn't place, but.
Was he was that who was? I thought he had a pretty good seed.
He might have been seeded, but who knows what. Evan Cruz, his record's wrong on there. He actually went 1-3 because he challenged me and got pinch headlocked. So.
I've seen that. That's a picture of it and everything.
So we might have to adjust his record. But yeah, he went 1-2, lost to Cannon Webster, who was a runner-up in the second round, and then broke.
Cannon Webster, he wrestled IPA.
Who?
He's Cannon Webster. He's a Washington kid, right?
Yeah. I don't think he did. He might have not. He might have some other time, but not this year. I don't believe so.
He's pretty good. He's not bad.
Yeah, he ended up going 5-0. I believe that means he won the tournament.
If
my calculations are correct.
Yeah, I don't think he wrestled IPO. I thought I had seen him at IPO before. I thought Washington usually sent some kids.
Yeah.
He got a lot of ones on his track wrestling.
Yeah. Joe, that's Washington, Illinois. Ball went 3-2. He did not make the second day, but had some good matches. Lost to a kid that got, I believe, looks like he got 6th or 8th, second round. Christian Washington was 0-2. Reinhardt had a real good weekend. Real good weekend.
Hunter Mason was the 5 seed. He beat Parker Reynolds' first match.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, Reinhardt killed it, bro. Like I was happy to see him in the lineup. I know, like they're trying to bring him down pretty gradually. I think that's gonna be. I think we talked about it. It's gonna be a tough cut, but like it's a tough room, man. Like it's not like. It's not one of those things like you're like, oh, cool, I want to go up to 60. Oh, okay, you're going to wrestle Sam Goin. He's a returning champ. Okay, well, then I'll go up to 70. Well, you got Cody Goodwin, who's a returning semifinalist. Okay, well, maybe I'll just wrestle 82. Well, you got returning runner-up in Orlando Cruz. And it's like, oh, so 52 is kind of the area I need to be at.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
but he wrestled really well, man. I thought he killed it. I like to have seen him get the Blair kick because he had him in the 5th place match also, right? Yeah,
it was a 2-1 match. I believe. What did he do? Did he give up a takedown? Maybe. I can't remember. A reversal. I think he gave up like a reversal, but yeah. Yeah, that was I mean, he could have got him twice, but pretty impressive tournament for him.
Really.
And as we said, dude made some money, especially as a sophomore, bigger kid. College coaches galore out there. I saw a gazillion college coaches. There.
Well, even the match he had with Styles, I thought he wrestled him really well in the semis.
Yeah,
I think it ended up being 5-2.
Yeah,
and I thought Styles kind of ran out of gas there.
Yeah.
I thought Reinhardt was really pushing the pace. I think he gave that really quick takedown in the first. I think he gave 2 takedowns, right? He gave a takedown in the first and an escape and another takedown, and then Styles kind of put the skates on. I thought Reinhardt really went at him, just kind of out of time. I thought that match. At that match, I was like, man, I don't think Styles is winning. And then I was wrong because Styles went out there and won
Yeah. Sammy had a good tournament. Obviously, like we said earlier, he was wrestling up a weight pretty much. Um, got a little bit, that quarterfinal match. That's a little bit deceiving. He got a little got down a little bit, and then was trying some things that aren't Sammy. Trying some rolls and trying some things just to try to get something going. Which it's good to see. It's a tournament. He doesn't really have to worry too much about getting pinned, other than some personal pride. But end up coming back and getting fifth, so that's pretty good.
I thought that kid he wrestled, that Ziola kid. That kid was huge. He was like bigger than Sammy. Like he made Sammy look small, and I know Sammy's not a small.
That kid was
60-pounder.
tall.
He's tall, and he was like fun. I was like, man, like, and then he was like, they always say like in the region they wrestle pretty rough. They're heavy, obviously Howell's heavy on the head. That kid was like punching, and we'll get to like Paul Clark's match too. But I think that kid got hit for a penalty point. I don't know what happened. It was off camera. Oh, yeah. But it was pretty aggressive wrestling. They were wrestling in a very aggressive style.
Yes, it got heated Saturday. There were some. Someone told Coach Hawkins that used a couple of expletives, saying something about and almost if you watch the match, you can see the teams kind of mingling. And luckily, we had Father Kike there to keep the peace. He kept the peace and kept the Crown Point wrestlers from getting in a fight.
In 2003, who would have thought Kike Escobedo would have been the peacekeeper?
It's Father Kike now.
He does have a baby. I don't think he's doing that good in our fantasy football league, but.
Well, that's probably because he has sermons to get ready for now.
Yeah, back when Kike was in high school and everyone thought he was the rowdiest 20-pounder or 19-pounder in the state. There's no chance that people would be like, man, I bet he's gonna be breaking up fights down the road.
Yes,
0% chance of that.
Yeah, that was fun. So yeah, Goen had a great tournament. Cody Goodwin went 2-2. Had a couple buys. Was that Blair Academy kid? He was in that match. Just gave up a late takedown. That kid didn't. I thought that was a match that Cody could have won. I think he kind of mentioned something that he had a bye first round, and that there's a lot of wrestling going on. I mean, he probably didn't wrestle till 1-2 o'clock. A lot of sitting around, a lot of. It was like a good old ISWA tournament, but there's nowhere to sit. Parents pretty much on the mat. There's no, there's one gym there's a gym and a field house, but there's really nowhere to just sit and relax and get away. They had a cafeteria that was fairly big, but so that was it's kind of hard for kind of eye opening, I think, for some of the kids. And I even asked just as far as the one of those things that when you go to a tournament like that, there's gonna be good wrestling, but you don't know what the environment's gonna be like. Weigh-ins. How do the weigh-ins go? Are weigh-ins just a cluster? I heard there's supposedly somebody didn't make weight but came back in the weigh-in room, was on weight, and they let him wrestle, something like that.
I think I seen you texting that.
Yeah, and so that was. I guess I asked Snyder how the coaches meeting was. As awesome as one of the tournament people were f-bombing people, telling people to fight them and stuff. And he's like, people were leaving. And I was like, I'm sitting here to watch this. This is fun.
The email you sent out was great. I don't remember if that was in our group text or that was directly the email they sent out for
yes.
seeds.
Yes. This is not the patty cake invitational.
Yeah.
Do not argue seeds. It's not going to help you.
It's the freaking Ironman. I'm trying to see. I wanted to read it verbatim here. I think it was. I thought you sent that as an individual text.
Let's see. I can pull it up. Derek sent that to me. Where did he? Or no, he sent it as a text, I think. Let me look it up. It was classic. I think we're gonna send that after the after the Al Smith.
Yeah, that's how they should. Like, yeah, just so you know, this is the Ironman. This isn't the Patty Cake World Championships. This is the um.
So, as always, this is not the Patty Cake Invitational. It's the Ironman. There's no question about any seeded or unseeded student athletes. If you want to cry me a river, please email junk@spamfolder.com.
Yeah. So they didn't really care about that. They did a good job. I think I had texted you. I was like, "Seats held up pretty good," and you're like, "Yeah, Willie did them." So yeah, he probably got a good idea.
Yeah, yeah. That's why you have people like that do seeds. I'm just saying.
Steve.
Let's see. Where are we at? So Cody had a good tournament. Cruz had, or Caden Brewer went 1 and 2.
I'm sorry.
He's still probably a year away from really making a big impact, but when matches there is good. That's a good start. Cruz had a good weekend, finishing 5th. The guy he lost to, looks like he lost in the finals. The Heeg kid he lost in the semifinals in the Conti semis is pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So he had, I know, and like we said earlier, he's wrestling up weight. He's an 82 pounder, most likely 84 in college. I mean, he was outsized in most of those matches.
A lot of the guys he was wrestling were huge. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, man, those guys look like, and when you're jumping, like when you're bumping 32 to 38, it's 6 pounds, 26 to 32, you're jumping 10 pounds. That's huge, especially at that level. It's hard. It's like why you're not seeing guys bump in college like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, I'm sure Spencer Lee is incredibly good, but you're not seeing him bump to 33 a lot,
Yeah. And
they're not like, hey, we can steal one here.
Yeah. I think Cruz would have been a little bit better off if 190 was his weight class. I think he'd be fine at 190 as a wrestler if he knew that was his weight class. But he's cutting down to 82 now on a regular basis. So he's got his body for made for 182, and he's already made 82. He made 82 earlier in the week. Yeah. Now he's wrestling 90. So that's
now we get to Ohio though. Now Ohio gets to come here on Saturday. Yeah. And they have to cut our weights.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those teams do because obviously you have that 82, 95 area that is kind of funky, and see what they do. It wouldn't surprise me if some of them have some forfeits or voids, as some people call them.
Sounds like Kike was getting rowdy watching soccer nationals.
Well, it's just wrestling tournaments where he's calm, breaking up fights. So Gunner, like we said, we talked about him earlier. Won his first match and was right in with that second match was right in there and almost had a takedown, and that kind of took the wind out of him. Will Clark had a really good tournament. You know how tough the tournament is when you wrestle Kyle Snyder for 7th.
Yeah. Man. And shout out to Hawk he told me man, we got these 2 twins. They're in 8th grade. They're going to be really good. And I'm looking ISWS, A stuff. And I'm like, I guess, man, they're kind of 5th and 6th and they seem athletic. Those dudes were in legitimately good matches. Those guys might be the most improved over the last 3 years. Will Clark and Paul Clark, that shocks me how good they are. Yeah. And they're going to be back another year. It's crazy how good those guys have gotten.
If you would have said 2 years ago that these two were going to place at Ironman, both placed at Ironman, we probably would have lost some money.
Yeah. I was talking to, I know we were talking about it a little bit because obviously we're talking about Reinhardt and earning money. Here's a junior, 215, athletic. He's ultra athletic. Yeah. He's ultra strong. If you don't know how strong he is, you can go watch Crown Point's strength coach post their stuff all the time. These dudes are lifting huge weights. Their speed and conditioning guy came out and was working with our softball girls this weekend. He's like, oh yeah, some of my guys were out there wrestling, man. They're good. And this dude's huge. He's 6'4", 300 pounds shredded. And I'm like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah. He's like, Paul's probably going to play D1 linebacker. He said, that dude's the real deal. He said, you don't see dudes at 220 pounds move like he does and have instincts like he does. He'll have D1 football deals.
Yeah.
He's like, that dude's a real deal, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll end up eighth. Wrestled real well. They're not afraid to get after it, which is pretty good. Paul was seventh. Dude, he should have won that quarterfinal
Yes.
match. I'm just sitting there, and that was like the last match of the night, and I was like, oh, come on, you're waiting around for it, and
That kid ran it to the finals.
Yeah, yeah.
That kid from Mesa ran it to the finals. My buddy like is texting me a match, and he watches a ton of college. He's like, "Who is this kid?" He's like, "He's killing this dude." I think that kid was seventh in the country, right?
Yeah.
At that point, and he's like, "Dude, he's gonna beat the number 7 kid in the country. He's not even on the watch list." He's like, "Where's he committed? Is he a senior? Is he he's a junior?" He's like, "Why is he tying up with them with 30 seconds left? What is he doing? Why is he doing this?"
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yes. That was. Yeah. So yeah, he that was painful to watch. It's like
The second most rowdy match, the second rowdiest match he wrestled on the weekend, because the match in the blood round. If you guys have a Flow account, you have to go back and watch Paul Clark match 972. Paul Clark against Stu Bertner from AMO. I'm not even sure where that's at, but that dude's dad's Matt's side.
Yes.
And the things that he is saying is unreal. Like, I thought that was a myth that people's dads were telling them to break people's legs. Like,
oh no, it wasn't. I was right there.
Bro, it was crazy, and it's like as clear as can be on the camera.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Bro,
that's Cincinnati Molar, by the way.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Yeah. That's where King Griffey Jr., Barry Larkin, and the great Tom Waddle went.
Yes. Yeah. Did you see I don't know if you noticed in the video with Derek.
My Grable jersey? I saw it. You're throwing a great coach right in front of another great coach's jersey? I see you. Was that by design or was that by accident?
It was semi-accident. I was like, hey, let's go back in that hallway. Oh, look, these jerseys. There's some soccer ones. I didn't know who the people were, but then I was like, oh, I know that one. He's like, yeah, I know that one too.
Yeah, he's pretty good. Mike Vrabel, not bad.
Yeah. So, yeah. And then Leighton Jones ended up losing to the same kid twice. And then the Carter Neves kid. The smaller athletic guys kind of were his kryptonite this weekend. And the first one, he didn't really look that first loss, he didn't look very good. It wasn't moving his feet. And there's one thing I know that we forget, that he does have diabetes, and especially a long day where things aren't as structured as they are in a normal day of when you're eating, when you're getting up and moving, things like that could definitely affect him. He just didn't look like he was moving his feet in that first loss. Looked better in the other one, other than he kind of got a little funky and the kid put him to his back and pinned him. So
and then he had the big showdown, in-state showdown.
Yeah, with Paul Clark. So that
1 and 2 in the state now.
Yes, and so I do have video. There was actually a brawl behind between Crown Point and Brownsburg. So
you can see it. You can kind of see it on the video. When they're wrestling, you see Joe, and then you see like all the guys sitting there, and then they all just start rolling around during the match.
Yeah, I was in the demilitarization zone, trying to keep them separated, and so I cannot be partial. They're like, Joe, come over here, and I go, nope. I gotta keep equidistant from you, as like the between North and South Korea. So that was fun. But yeah, so Leighton had a good tournament. He's not just out. If you didn't listen to the interviews, go listen to them. Really good stuff. Leighton won't be wrestling this weekend. He's not injured. He's going to the Army Bowl, the high school Army Navy. Yeah.
American Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is to go where probably only about a handful of kids get to go.
Yeah.
I think that he's gonna end up just playing football in college. I think, but he has like a teammate that's gonna do both, right? One of the guys
Keeter
is gonna play football.
Yeah. Ben Keeter. They say he's a freak. The one game I'm going to not even be close to the right stats, but they said one game he played football. He touched the ball like 8 times, scored like 6 touchdowns, and rushed for like 280 yards or something. It was something ridiculous.
What was the kid from Andran had some like crazy stat like that. I think it's like maybe in the semi-state or the regional championship. I think he had like 6 touchdowns.
Yeah. Yeah, Keeter's a freak. And he wins a world championship in junior freestyle. So, he's pretty good. But Leighton
No,
did.
it's the kid from Andrean. Him and Jesse like grew up together. They used to play like slow pitch softball together. That kid's going to Notre Dame as a football player, and I think they both like had committed the same day.
Nice. Didn't he? You said he's probably going. He's going to.
Drake Bowen, he's going to Notre Dame from Andrean. He's I forgot what his like. He had like some crazy stat in like one of the games. I want to say he had like 5 touchdowns maybe. It was something stupid, and I was like, I can't like. Every time he touched the ball, he scored.
Yeah. So let's see. I wonder if they have the. If I can find his game stats. Oh, well.
I'm sure one of these guys saw it. They're,
Yeah.
they're just like holding it up. Usually they want to correct us every other time, right?
Yeah. Find it. Someone go do the search. So, overall, I think we did really well. I think we kind of, talking to the director, and we'll definitely be able to get some more teams in there, some more individuals in there next year. So I'm looking forward to that. Especially getting 8 placers, and Leighton has been in the national rankings. Paul and Will never have. Orlando has, he's either in it or he's been on that, 15 to 20 area. Goings, top 10.
I think it was a semi-state game against Snyder. He rushed for 358 yards, 5 touchdowns.
Jeez.
Not a bad night.
Yeah.
How many touchdowns did you score back in the day, Joe?
I scored 4 touchdowns in one game.
For Polkai back in?
Yes.
Yeah, I think Orlando had just got in right after that Elite 8, right?
Yeah, Orlando got in there. He's in that 15 to 20 range. Sammy was top 10. Reinhardt probably was not even really on a watch list. Logan has been kind of that.
Goodwin is not, right? Goodwin was not on the.
No. Logan was at 15 to 20. Hockaday's been in and out. He's been that, that back quarter area. Dickman, I know he's been on some grade rankings. I'm fairly positive, but he's never been, which is hard to crack. It's really hard to crack those, like a 106 ranking, especially. And I don't think he even cracked them after placing 8th there. So, that's pretty, so we had 3 guys that were ranked that placed, that were there, and they all placed, and then 5 others that weren't ranked. I'd consider Leighton half ranked because he's been in there. He's been in the rankings a lot, so 3.5, and then that's pretty good at that tournament. So
and Leighton used to wrestle a lot more off-season stuff, but like I think as he's gotten older, his shift has been more like camps and lineman camps and things like that.
Yeah, so
he probably make a little bit more money playing football as a career.
Yeah.
I mean, you went there, you got to see it firsthand. I know we talked about it. Like those 2 teams will go back, I'm sure.
Yes.
Do you think that and we talked about Brownsburg, they're probably a year away. They'll be better next year. They'll show better next year.
Yeah. Yes.
They have some young guys in their lineup that they weren't able to take this year that I think are really good, and I think they have some guys that are coming up that are solid. Do you think they'll get a full team next year?
I think they'll be able to get, if not a full team, they'll bring 10 plus.
And I know we kind of talked about it too. Do you think there's a benefit of taking a full team? Like I know Mount Carmel didn't bring their full team either. I know and off subject, like I know Acuna didn't go. His dad had just passed away, so hopefully like prayers to the family for those guys. But I think they only had 8 or 9, right?
Yeah. If you have guys that can score points, I think it's good. It just depends on what. I mean, I don't think there were a whole lot of teams that brought 14, and there were 7. Let's see if there's any more past the first page. 8. Only 8 teams brought more than 14. And actually, we can just even go through here. Um, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So maybe 16, 17 teams out of 113, 119, 18, 19 brought 10 plus. So I mean, I wasn't sure, obviously, talking to Bill and that, I wasn't sure if since they had some backups at some of those weights, wasn't sure if they'd take them. And they did, which, good for them. They got to hang out with the team and, be a part of it. I would, you gotta be, one thing I know and I will say this as a public service announcement, if you're going to apply to be in there, make sure you're ready to wrestle. Make sure your kids are going to compete at that level, because that's one of the things that we can't be sending a average team there and and getting invited back. If these teams didn't perform, I'm more than counting our blessings that both those schools came and performed, because that's going to open the door for a lot of individuals and teams to be able to get kids in there next year. But we got to keep performing.
So. I guess that's the next thing, right? Like, who do you think? Like, we kind of talked about it. Like, are there a lot of? We even talked about it when the travel restrictions were lifted. Like, it doesn't affect everybody. Like, some teams are just not going to go out of state like that. Like, some teams are just not going to go to those type of events. Like, and I'm not going to use a name because I think that's, we all have an idea. But do you think like a Center Grove, who's really, really good, will go there? And like, that's an event, like, I think that could raise their profile, because they do have a very solid group of wrestlers, young wrestlers too.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume they're probably going to look into it. I know they're going up to Davison or DCC, one of the, up in Michigan, in early January, and they're gonna go out there and wrestle. I think St. Ed's might be there, Davison or DCC. And it's pretty loaded. I think that's the one that
Portage has been there. Brownsburg's been there, right?
Yeah, I think Mount Carmel. That's the one that Mount Carmel was at last year, like the week before wrestling Crown Point. Because they take a week. They have a couple weeks off. Good.
They wrestle a ridiculous schedule, right? Like,
yes.
Just as a side note, so does Brownsburg and Crown Point. Like, and they're gonna take some really, really hard matches across the board. Like they're right back at it this week with a lot of the teams that were at the Ironman, and then you're adding in some really good teams from Michigan and Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's gonna be another. Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. And then, I mean, I think Center Grove probably will be in the mix there. I don't know what they're, obviously they're not in a conference, so that helps them be able to not have to, worry about conference stuff or anything like that. Because I know, like, last weekend was that Northeast 8 duels. Yeah. So you're looking at, and then not NECC wasn't last weekend. There's some other conference, like, PAC duels, I think. There's some other ones that were having their, conference duels, so they're not going to be able to, okay, we're going to skip out on this and go to this other tournament. They might be able to take one or two kids, but then they kind of hurt themselves in those conference duels. It just depends on what, as a coach, where you put those priorities and what you do with those kids that have the ability to go out there and perform and like Reinhardt, make some money. That was, huge. And, obviously he was at Zionsville. He wouldn't have gotten those looks at Zionsville this weekend. That's not a dig on the Welches and them, but he wouldn't have had those looks there, and that's huge for him.
I think the Welches do a great job too. I think they have their own invitational that same weekend. So but like, there's other events obviously that you can get into, and they have some guys that are really good. It's interesting to see if a lot more people take advantage of that. I think there was a fight that we had for a long time, and it'd be interesting to see how many people actually kind of explore that. Like, we were kind of talking a little bit, like, um, there's coaches that don't want to seek out those tougher matches. Like
Mhm.
whether they won't come out in public forum and say, yeah, we're not trying to wrestle the hardest schedule. We want to, keep our seeds. We want to keep our records so we can go in. And we're open to those conversations. We hear those conversations, whether they say that directly, but you've heard like, hey, do you want to get this team in? They're like, no, we don't want to make um, our tournament like too tough. Too tough for who? Like you should want to like wrestle the toughest matches. You want to be improving. Like if you take losses, like we were saying, Josh Lowe was saying, if you take losses, like you're gonna be getting better. It's like how you manage that, right? Like yes,
Yeah.
being undefeated is very cool, but I don't think at the end of the day, like I know my buddy that won a state title, like I talk to pretty regularly. He had one loss, and I don't think he ever was like, yeah, I wish I was 36-0 and not a champ, but I was 35-1 and I was a champ. You know,
You can't take
I
that
don't,
championship away.
I don't think Eric ever told me like I wish I didn't lose those matches to Cosgrove when I won that second title.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who takes advantage of it, and um, definitely,
East Central,
yeah.
East Central is not in the Al Smith. No,
Nope.
Warren Central I think replaced them. I think Warren Central is the next one in.
So, so it'll be interesting to see, just who takes care of, who takes advantage of that. Definitely big props to Crown Point and Brownsburg for performing and opening that door. One of the things I was talking to Derek a little bit about it, and there was a little bit of a shell shock, kind of eye opener for some of the kids there that you could tell they trained, but you think you trained hard enough, but you realize when you get there that you didn't train hard enough, and that's it's one of those things that you don't uh, get that feel until you've actually been through it, been through the weigh-ins, been through the we gotta leave school at 1 o'clock and get there, the travel. I mean, you don't really stay overnight too many times when you're in high school for events. So there's a lot of things that go on, and never being there, you don't know what kind of cluster the weigh-ins are. You have 600 kids weighing in almost on Friday morning, and you have no clue where the school is, how big how they run weigh-ins, and there's a lot of things that kind of can mess with when you're not used to kind of going there. So I think they'll make some adjustments. I know he was talking just about we'll make some adjustments, and these kids are gonna next year they're gonna be like, hey, this is a little bit tougher. We know it's tough, but now we know how tough it is. So
Oh yeah,
and it's easy to say, man, that's a real tough tournament, but once you see it and feel it, now you know what it is.
and I think like you already said some of the stuff, and I'm not gonna like put it out there because I don't want to be like, oh, I'm gonna hold them to that. But like some of the things that they're already saying that they're gonna do in their off season to adjust and wrestle some more, that like that level of stuff is really interesting, and like the preparation for it, which is really cool.
Yeah. So, anything else about Ironman? Since we just spent an hour on that.
I mean that's why we're doing 2 shows, right?
Yeah. We'll probably go tomorrow night too because there's a lot of stuff to talk about with Ironman, and I think I mean, obviously we just spent an hour talking about two teams, and there's a lot of stuff that went on tonight and went on, So, the other thing, I guess, let's address the 285 pounder in the room, Christian
You think
Carroll.
he's 285?
No, he's about probably 250, 245. Christian Carroll. I did talk to an Oklahoma State coach this weekend, ask what he knew. He's like, he's supposed to be coming after Christmas. That's what he told us. And that was about, geez, I mean, I don't know if it was somebody sent me just about that same time before that. There's an Elkhart Truth article about saying, and I bought it and read it, about he wrestled his last match Tuesday. And so we're pulling him out of the rankings, and I guess my biggest thing is like until we basically see him in the sectional brackets, probably won't be back in the rankings, I would assume.
Yeah, I think there's always like this like thing from like the Chappelle show, and they were like asking him, he went to be a witness in like the R. Kelly concert. He's like, I need to see him with his grandmother there, 2 forms of ID. I
Yeah.
need to see his W-2s now. I think we've heard that all year, right? Like
Yeah.
we heard that last year.
We heard
Like
that
a
even
little bit.
before, even after his sophomore year, that he was only gonna wrestle 1 year, and he was gonna go train the RTC at that time at Illinois, and then obviously
Yeah.
I assume maybe that was gonna change the pen, whatever. But there was already rumors started 2.5 years ago that he wasn't gonna wrestle in his senior year.
He's incredibly good.
Yeah.
And I think some of those guys, I was never this good, so I'm only speculating. I'm only speculating, so this is speculation. I think that he has much higher aspirations than winning Indiana State, and I think winning Indiana State's huge. I think that's going to be a lot of people's highlight of their career, like their life. I don't hope not their life, hopefully their kids and their wives and things like that. But he's looking to be an Olympic champion, world champion, NCAA champion. We've seen this with the Lees. Nick's had incredible success at the NCAA level. It's a very similar. Christian lost 2 years. One was an ACL and one was a transfer. So we lost 2 years of watching him. If this was always the plan, I think that's kind of on par with what those guys did. But it happens in other states. It happens to other people. I know some private conversations that I've had with some really elite wrestlers from the region that they had the same conversations before and they chose to stay, but they kind of kicked themselves afterwards. I thought they really wanted to go and wrestle at the RTC and prepare for, bigger goals.
Yeah.
And, I don't fault him. I think that if he wrestles, great. I would love to see him and Paul Clark and Leighton Jones battle it out for a state title. I think those guys are all pretty dynamic. Obviously, Christian's a freak of nature. Yeah. We haven't really had a guy. He's like the first Super 32, Fargo, Chant. What is it? One other one?
Yeah, he won Super 32 in Fargo, first one ever. I was hoping he'd add a title at Ironman, so he could be the first trifecta triple crown winner, I guess.
And if he does, but like to that, like you want, I don't think it bothered Nick Lee that he's a one-time state champ. I never asked him. I've never asked him like, hey man, do you wish you were a 4-timer? I think he was very determined, even at a younger age, to chase the best competition and kind of make his mark and leave. And I think, this match with Stefan, I wish it was under the lights as a freshman. I think that would have been really cool. Mm-hmm. Won it as a sophomore, then the match with Chad Red, like that's a legendary match. Mm-hmm. Like still to this day, like when you watch that match, like the opening of that match where the place goes nuts and then they have to stop it and reset because we weren't on live television yet was it's great. And they did like a Big Ten like show about it, like a Big Ten short.
Yeah.
Where Joe Lee and Nick and Chad all talk about it. I think that's really cool.
Yeah. I hear people like on FRL talk about it like every so often. You'll hear they'll talk about the best high school matches, and that's one of the best high school matches, and we all got to see it firsthand. That was
So we've kind of known for a while, and like we try. And Joe made a real good comment in a text. We're not TMZ. Like we get so much crazy nonsense that I would hate to break. Like you seen John Heyman do it in the MLB, right? Like he broke the wrong story, and we're dealing with high school teenagers. I have a teenager that lives in my house. I was a teenager at one point before there's gray in my beard. I would hate if every single time something happened, someone ran to Twitter and did it, right?
Yeah.
We don't do that. We try to hold information. We try to keep some of that off the board. Someone was asking about Landon Hawkins, and that's a private matter with his family. And I really like Bill, but we would honor that respect for everybody else. Bill's a pretty open guy. If people really want to ask, I'm sure he would explain it to them.
Yeah.
But we took him out of the rankings also. There's a reason for it.
Yeah.
We're not gonna be the Gridiron Digest and just let everyone post whatever they want and just bash kids. I think that's ridiculous.
Yeah, definitely. And like I said, we're not gonna. we'd gotten the hints for weeks and stuff, and it's more or less months, years basically. I'm not gonna go out there and post that, as breaking news and make a big article about it, because I'm gonna let the kid do it. That just like when someone says, "Hey, I'm committing to wherever school," and sometimes they let me know early, and I go, "Is this okay to post right now?" Because I want to make sure that you have told your other coaches. I'm not gonna go tell post that, and then all of a sudden, angry coach from wherever is like, "I didn't know he was committing and stuff."
We don't ever bash coaches by name.
Yeah. Yeah. So
we just talk in generalities.
Yes. Yeah. We everyone knows when we say the coaches that rage all the time. Some people know who we're bashing there. So yeah. But yeah. So I mean, we had known. I'm not. It's still. He's still in school, and the article even says, the athletic director says, as of now, he's still a student. We were working with him in, every way possible on and off the mat. And, once we get full confirmation that he is in Oklahoma or Texas or wherever he's going, we will, we'll know for sure. But as of this time, last I knew, he's still in the greater Bago area.
I didn't even know where Bago area was at, right? I think, yeah, that's just one of those things, man. Like, it would be really cool if he wrestles, just because as a fan, you want to, obviously, as a fan of four-weight semi-state, you want to keep the state championship title there.
Yeah, for heavyweight. So now it's coming down to Brandon Jellison. So we're putting all the cards right there. Brandon Jellison right now is our top heavyweight.
But if that's the choice he makes, I'm hoping, he wins 4 NCAA titles, and we can still be like, yeah, Indiana, we're up there, we're doing it.
Yeah. So Indiana's won the last 2 NCAA titles, so we can with Gable.
We still play Gable. We
Yes.
still do that.
Yeah. Yeah. So
He's still got that whiting in his blood. We still claim him in the region.
Yeah, he's region. When you live there at least 14 years.
Yeah. Whiting, Portage, Maryville, we still claim it.
Yeah. So, anything else we want to...
was so off, huh?
What?
Is Apple Valley still nationally ranked?
I do not believe so. I think they're not as good as they... I think they're still pretty tough, like as probably a state title contender. But I don't think Minnesota can go to Ironman and stuff. It was interesting there, just even going back there, I'm like, where's this guy from? It was like Crescent Valley or something, and it was like Willie or Josh were like, oh, that's Washington. I'm like, oh, or Washington or Oregon. One of those. I'm like, you don't see that very often here. Yeah, they brought like one guy. So
Colorado had Ponderosa, Colorado had a squad going.
Yeah, Alex Gregory, Penn wrestler, and former Indiana Tech wrestler. He coaches there. I didn't get to talk to him. I kind of saw him he was over there, and I was meant to go talk to him, and then I looked over and I couldn't find him. So, I wanted to go say hi, and I've talked to him a few times. Yeah, they finished 12th with 5 guys. That's a squad.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, they only had 2nd and a 4th place finishers. That's pretty impressive. But yeah. Bishop McCourt got 7th with 6. They're pretty good too.
Yeah, those guys don't do a bad job.
Yeah. So yeah, it's pretty impressive. I was more impressed. Like, I don't know. I always want team scoring is always kind of funky, and scoring points, like how many points did Goodwin only scored 3 points? It seemed like Brownsburg and Crown Point had a lot of points before you could actually get the big points for placing. So, but anyway.
So yeah.
Go ahead.
Like upcoming, should we talk about like the tournament results from this past weekend in Indiana next? We could do one tomorrow, I'm sure.
Yeah.
If you're available tomorrow, I'm available tomorrow.
Yeah, I am. I don't have anything.
We kind of hit some of the ranking stuff. I know we talked about it early. Do we have how many? We have a new number 1 at heavyweight. Do we have any other new number 1s?
Will
Lane
still
still on.
pretty.
Preston. Yeah, I know. I was talking with Joe Butler a little bit, like Messenger, just kind of asking like how some of the out of state results are gonna affect the rankings, and I said like I don't know, like visually, like if you're losing to nationally ranked guys, I can't really fault you for that. We don't really like if you bump a weight class, like we always say. I think we said it before, and I've said it before. If you're out there chasing good matches, like I'm not gonna like, and you go out there and get murdered, right? Like if you go out there and you bump up and you're like, I want to wrestle whoever, and I get teched and pinned, that might reflect badly on your like where you're at. But like if you're bumping and getting a good match, I think those are the matches that we kind of look at and we're like, okay, cool. Like that's not gonna really kill that guy's rank. And I know like some people don't care, like, or at least they'll tell you they don't care. There'll be at least several posts or several tweets about like how rankings don't mean anything. But I'll tell you, when this 48 hours is up, I get a lot of messages.
There've been a lot of people buying, getting early access. One thing you look at 120 and Ashton Jackson, Jake Hockaday, both returning champs. Could you see a way of Hockaday? I mean, they're not going to see each other, but Hockaday had a real good Ironman, wrestled with the nation's best. Could you see him? If he gets a couple wins,
this is legitimate, and I'm not. We haven't even talked about this. If he would have beat Rainey, I would have put him one. Honestly, like when he was like wrestling Rainey, I'm like, if he beats Rainey, the other Rainey, because when he beat the other Rainey, everyone was like, well, the other Rainey's better, and I'm thinking like they're twins and they're both like really, really good. Like, what are we talking about? If he would have beat Rainey, I think he would have been jumped to one. Ashton to wrestle Al Smith. I don't know Laporte's schedule. I know there's a website for that. I don't frequent everyone's schedules, but like I don't know how many ranked wrestlers. I think one of the things there was an opportunity for Ashton to bump up and wrestle Logan Frazier a couple weeks ago, which both of those guys are already D1 level commits. I thought that would have been really cool for the region, and it's in Laporte. I mean, I'm not going to drive out to Laporte on a win unless I was 100% positive that Ashton Jackson was weighing in at 126 to wrestle him. I might have driven out to Laporte, which is like basically probably an hour from my house, an hour and 15. I might have went out just to watch that match, but like I'm not going to go out there for a possibility of that match happening. But like Hockaday, if he had beat Rainey, I think he could have been one.
Yeah, you at Al Smith, he'll have Tishner number 4. 10 Kruger, Eddie Goss at 12, 14 Tommy Frazier, Dylan Bennett, Dominic Brown, Elijah Brody, and Sonny Sessa. So there's 9 ranked guys there right now. There's 2 top 5, and then the rest are 10 or below.
Yeah, and I think then that's tough. I mean, there's nothing he can do about that. Like he doesn't make the schedule, But I would like to have seen. I think sometimes, like as a fan, I thought that would have been a good match. I think that would have been a very stylistically interesting matchup.
Yeah. What? Let's see. It will be weight class. Oop, they don't have. They have weight, or they have wrestlers in here. I don't know who has all put their kids in at 120. Brownsburg has Hockaday, Arrowhead. Yeah. So wow. Looking this weekend,
Hunter Douglas beat Keelan Fuller. Keelan Fuller had a really good win over. He had a really quick pin over. How did he pin this past like 2 weeks ago? Last week. That's a good win.
Yeah. So we'll have to see who is at.
Caleb Salazar. Keelan Fuller beat Caleb Salazar. That's a really good one for Hunter Douglas.
Yeah. Who is, I mean, obviously Jake might get some ranked matches this weekend. And then obviously at the Brecksville. So there's a couple options.
Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things. I mean, like I said, that's one of those spots where chasing those matches might get him above him. Might get him, and it's a ranking, and we can argue for days who should be number one, they're both returning state champs.
Yeah.
One's at a higher weight class. I mean, you're not going to be wrong with either of them.
Luckily, we get to figure that one out in February, hopefully.
Yes.
And under the lights, maybe, not in the semis.
Yeah.
But 120 is a good weight. I think 120 is like 120. We always talk about, it's like one of those weights. I mean, almost everybody in that weight. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great win this weekend for Jackson Heaston. Got a good win over Lane Gilbert. Jackson Bradley's the first non-state finalist. He's a freshman, really tough. Comes from a really good family, really good people. Liam Kruger, incredibly tough. Logan Bickle, I believe, was an All-American, right?
Yep, Greco All-American. So definitely go upper body with him. I dare you to.
Yeah. Eddie Goss got state experience. Tommy Frazier, Oliver Wilson, Dylan Bennett, Peter Wynn. And then you got some really tough freshmen on the backside of that. That's a really tough weight class. And I think Dominic Brown fell. He fell pretty. I think he was at 6 at one point. I think it's like that's also one of those ones. I know he weighed in. I want to see him on the mat before I start moving him back way high up there.
Yeah, darn it! I keep messing this thing up. So yeah.
There's my guy. All right, Quinn. They said Solomon looked really good this weekend. Aiden Torres did not compete this weekend. I'm trying to think if we had any changes at the very ones. I don't think so.
No.
Man, those guys are Brownsburg's wrestling incredible. Brecksville's an incredibly tough winter tournament. I know we've had some teams go there before. I think they've been there before, right? Avon's been there before.
Yes, Avon and Avon's been. I think Portage went there for a little bit, and Brownsburg's been there. So,
this week they're gonna have the Carnahan, which, they're calling it all summer the mini Ironman,
Ironman Revenge Tour.
Yeah, and you have some smaller schools in there, which is really cool. Some smaller Indiana schools, which I'm sure you have some smaller Ohio schools at the Ironman. You have Wheeler. You have John Glenn, who had a great win. John Glenn's been wrestling really well. I bet they're in the contention for 2A vote-in. They're 2A, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, they're wrestling really well. They have some really tough younger guys. Lafayette Jeff's in there. Hebron. So.
Yeah, I messed up your spreadsheet. I'm fixing your spreadsheet, by the way.
Sam Allen over Weigard. That's a big one. Sam Allen, I think, unranked, but he's been to the semi-state before. There might be a bigger upset. I don't know. Odin Fortune, unranked, majoring. Was that something he caught him? Yeah, he majored DeMarco.
Yeah,
who's a 2-time medalist. That's pretty big. I don't know. That might be the bigger upset of the weekend.
Yeah, definitely.
Odin Fortune. That's a great win, man.
Yeah, and I think
DeMarco was in the mix to be a 1.
Yeah,
he's got 2 medals. He's had some really good wins.
Yes, he has. So, yeah, I fixed the spreadsheet. Now we can see all the state qualifiers and stuff. And then
I know I didn't mess that up. I don't think all the lines I said don't touch. I don't touch those.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I messed that up some because I did some things. And I didn't realize I was messed up. I was gonna say something to me.
So this weekend, I know I was looking. I was okay. This weekend at the Carnahan at Crown Point, you have Arrowhead Union, which is Arrowhead, Wisconsin, which is right by where Askren's place is at.
Yeah, that's where Askren went to high school.
Then you got Brownsburg, Crown Point, Davison, Michigan, who has some nationally ranked wrestlers. Is that where Josh Barr's at?
Yes, I believe so.
Elvira, Ohio. Elvira, Ohio. Homewood Flossmoor, who has some nationally ranked guys.
Yes.
Legacy Christian, who we've already talked about with Dylan Campbell and those guys. They're a really small school. I believe that's where Gavin Brown went also. Lowell, Michigan, Marmion Academy, who was just at Ironman, St. Ed's, who was just at Ironman, St. Paris Graham. So that's going to be an incredibly hard tournament.
Yeah, does not look like there's any ranked 120 pounders. And Hockaday is number 20, so he snuck into the rankings there. So there won't be any ranked there. It doesn't look like there's any from that'd probably be at Brecksville that I can see offhand, just based on locations. So unless Union County, Kentucky goes there.
Yeah.
So
they and we were kind of talking about it a little bit too. I know it's a little bit further out. We'll talk about it even more. Man, the Al Smith is getting incredibly hard.
Yes.
I was trying to underground lobby for a team to get in, and I was like, well, if someone drops, like I think there's a team that wants to get in. They have some tough wrestlers, and I'm looking and I'm thinking, and we were talking about it off air. I'm like, who's dropping? Like, those are all really good teams that have guys that are like going to be in the mix to have placers.
Yeah.
Like Steve's done a great job of like not that it was ever a bad tournament, but there were some years where like there was teams bringing up one or two guys. Yeah. You know, I know. And I think they're basically like, hey, we're gonna keep turning over the bottom part of this tournament and bringing in tough teams. And you got Belmont, always really tough. They're gonna have really good guys. Bloomington South has really good guys. You could have possibly Delaney Roman, Cody Goodwin. Your old stomping grounds, Carroll. You know, Caleb Blackburn and those guys. Center Grove is really good. I think Center Grove is kind of. It's hard to say they're flying under the radar because I think almost everyone in their lineup's almost ranked. But like I think Crown Point and Brownsburg's getting a lot of that buzz. Like they're really good. Chesterton has DeMarco and they have Torres. Columbus East always really tough. Crown Point, Elkhart, Fort Wayne Snyder, Garrett, Hobart, Cathedral, Jimtown, Lake Central, LaPorte, Lowell, Maryville. Mishawaka, Mount Vernon, Fortville, Northwood, Penn, Peru, Plymouth, Portage, Prairie Heights, South Bend, Riley, Warren Central, who's in. We already talked about like East Central didn't get in. Warren Central got in. Warsaw, Wawasee, Western, Westfield, and Zionsville. That's a good like slice of schools too, of different sizes, different areas. That'd be an exciting day for wrestling.
Yeah. Trying to figure out who the other team is that added. Northridge, Concord, and South Bend Adams are out. Portage, Warren Central, and Western. That's the last one. And Western are in. So, all three pretty solid teams are going to bring full teams, and even their lesser kids are pretty solid. So those are going to be. I mean. Even their lesser kids are going to be tough outs. You're going to run into them in the consolation matches, and if you overlook them, you're going to be sitting in the stands a lot earlier than you wanted. So, and Steve's done a great job, like you said, of bringing in some of those teams and turning over some of the teams that weren't bringing, as many kids, and some teams that, kind of just need to, it's not helping them. It doesn't do them any good to bring. It doesn't do the tournament any good to bring that a few kids and and not compete.
Yeah, Modern Day is always good. Warrensville, the holiday tournaments and they got Wi-Fi at the Spartan Dome. I like that.
Spartan Dome got. Well, they said they're going to be streaming it too, which
let's go.
Man, they go. They have jumped from 1985 to 2004 already.
I like that. I like it. Steve's done a great job, man. I think I know he was always trying to get that like tougher, and we talked about like when you put like a name on it. And Al Smith like still goes there. It's incredible. And that thing, this might be one of the toughest it's ever been. Dude, that thing's nasty.
Yeah. So that CD meeting is gonna be fun. So yeah, they and like as Quinn said that the Mooresville has 32 teams Not quite the depth, but this is the first time I think in, at least from what I know, that they have full 32 teams. Usually they'd have between 16 and 25, 26. So they got 32 teams, so that's always good. And Connorsville will have 32 teams too. So a lot of teams are getting, I mean, that's a quarter of the state in 3 tournaments. So, or a third of the state, sorry. Even, and then, then, have it modern day. So if you're not, it's going to be interesting. There's only going to be a few teams that aren't wrestling, really in those, we're going to get a good gauge of where everyone's at.
You got some teams heading out to Brecksville, and
yeah,
it's going to be exciting, man. I think, that's just it's an exciting time. Like I said, it's an exciting time to be an Indiana wrestling fan.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
it's crazy. We're like the layers of it too.
Yeah, definitely. And it was like I said earlier, it was kind of mind blowing to see that Blair versus Crown Point or Brownsburg match, and it's something that I just sat there for a second like, this is happening. This is truly happening. That we're able to wrestle in this tournament. It's 3 hours from my house. I basically had to take 2 roads to get there, so it was pretty easy drive and everything. And it's like, man, I get to go to Ironman and watch Indiana wrestlers. So,
yeah, we didn't even touch on the hottest topic. I can't believe we didn't kick the show off with Kyle Ayers taking bacon off his sandwich.
Oh yes, I was going to start it off, but I didn't want to. I'm speechless. You get one of the parents gave him a breakfast sandwich, and he's picking bacon off it, and it was like one of the most atrocious things I've ever seen in my life.
Is he like one of those people that have to have all their food separated? Did he like eat the bacon and then eat
he didn't. No,
eat the biscuit or something?
I think Derek ate the bacon, or somebody ate the bacon. He gladly gave it up, and I don't. It's I could maybe understand. Maybe he likes his bacon crispy or soggy, whatever. But
he just doesn't like bacon?
He doesn't eat bacon.
Or like any pork?
He eats pork. He said him and his wife are getting like I think like a quarter hog or half a hog or whatever in like this week.
And he's gonna
but he ain't eating the bacon.
And none of his bacon?
Yeah. He's not eating. I surely hope the region rat is at Crown Point and confiscates his region card, because I think that's the only thing.
I was talking to Kyle a couple of weeks ago, man. He's trying to go back home, man. He was trying to finesse his way in to get into the Harvest Classic.
Not if they serve bacon in the hospitality room.
No, they sell incredibly good fried chicken and beef sandwiches.
Yeah, I don't know.
And masticholi.
Eric Spikes is not going to like Kyle Ayersman forever.
I know.
Who doesn't eat bacon? I don't know. I know he has to be on some kind of terror watch list after, and Mike Morgan just sitting there like, bacon? Like, you don't.
Why? So what happened? What did he say? Like, he just had like a bad experience?
He never said or gave a reason. So he just.
Noemi doesn't eat eggs. Like one time, Noemi threw like a whole thing of scrambled eggs away. I made her pull them out of the trash and eat them. Now she won't eat scrambled eggs. Like, you think it's something like that? Like someone hit some bacon away. He threw bacon away, and his dad made him eat it out of the garbage.
I don't know. Maybe we gotta get him on here to figure out, what his bacon phobia is.
Like the Jesselnick will just have like one segment, like defend your tweet.
Yes.
You said that you don't eat bacon. Defend yourself. You got 2 minutes.
He said one of his college. I want to say it was the Columbia coach Tonelli, who coached at Purdue for a little bit. I think when he was there, went up to him and was like, "Are you freaking kidding me? You don't eat bacon?" And he was like dumb, like, "What do you mean?" And then like, oh, so it kind of, I don't want to say it went viral, but it reached enough people. But yeah. So he's been away from the region for so long. I'm just like, everyone there, every coach, every person that I encountered was just absolutely disgusted with that behavior.
I don't know if I've ever met anyone that doesn't like bacon. Like and if they don't, they've never said anything to me about it. Like they've never like made it open. Like, hey,
never come out.
Yeah, they make an excuse like, I like my bacon crispier than that.
Yeah. I don't know. It was it was mind blowing, and I'm glad I was there to capture a picture. And the internet, it's on the internet forever. Everyone will know Kyle Ehrman does not eat bacon for whatever reason. I yeah, I mean I don't know of a good reason to not eat bacon.
No,
So yeah, yeah.
sure.
We almost didn't even. I can't believe we didn't. And the people have spoken that he should have his region card confiscated.
I don't know if I'm gonna go that far. I mean, that's a way of life. I mean, that might just. I have to dig a little bit more into this.
You gotta look at the bylaws.
Yeah, well, if there's like an excuse, like I'm a reasonable person.
Okay.
Like maybe he ate some. Like I don't like milk. I haven't drank milk since I was like 10 years old. I can't stand like the texture or smell or taste of milk. I won't drink it. If I eat cereal, I'll dump it out. But I also understand that one time, like I ate spoiled milk one time.
Ah, yes.
So like mentally, I have a pretty good memory, and it just resonates with me very strongly.
It's like Rocco will not eat Blaze pizza.
No,
No, we had a bad incidence of that, and I always threaten when he's not behaving that we will go to Blaze Pizza, and all of a sudden he acts better. So
the girls think it's hilarious. Like even if like they dump milk in the sink sometimes, and like it'll get caught in something, and I smell it, like I start to like almost vomit, and they think it's the funniest thing in the world. They think that's hilarious.
Eric's bringing bacon to the Carnahan. Oh,
He's probably gonna bring you like some real like Eric brought me some tamales one time, and they were flame. They were so good.
Nice.
He's gonna bring you like some like real like he's gonna cure it himself bacon.
Jason, do not take Rocco to Blaze Pizza. That's one place he will not go. He'll eat everywhere else. He had a throwing up incident in my car that was only a few months old. So that's a long. Yeah, that was a fun afternoon because Mom was out of town, and so I had to tell her. And when you're in the mall parking lot and you had your kid just throw up all over the back of your car, and you're trying to figure out what I'm supposed to do. Like
I've had that happen before.
Yeah, so fun parenting. It's not in that parent manual that you get at the hospital, right? It's like, what do you do when someone throws up in the back of your car? You're not home, and you got to try to clean it up.
Nice.
So,
Jason didn't even tell us they had the first ever home girls wrestling duel meet, and it was their senior night.
oh yeah, they had a double duel with Ileana Christian and somebody.
Rensselaer, I seen that was in the paper. That was at Ileana Christian. Our girl, one of the girls on our team, she wrestles for Rensselaer. She's doing pretty good. She told me I need to tell Razzo we need to get in the rankings.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, they yeah. So that's pretty. There's a lot more girl events going on, and that's pretty cool to see. And I know they had one at Lebanon this past weekend. And I want to say they said there were supposed to be a lot of girls. I will check that out here.
Like coming up or this past weekend?
This past weekend. They said that there were going to be, let's see, 4th Annual Lebanon Girls Invitational. There were over 300 girls there. 313. Wow. So...
that's awesome, man. That's really cool. Really cool for the sport.
Yeah, and they had girls from Ohio, Kentucky, more Kentucky. Let's see, and they had 52 teams, Ohio, Kentucky teams. I know Findlay, Ohio, I know they advertised on the board about an event, and Jay County's going over there. I think Jay County's their only Indiana team. But they're bringing in like girls from Texas, Washington, places like that for a kind of almost like an Ironman type girls event. And I do not know when that is exactly, but I know it's coming up. So that's kind of cool to see. And Findlay is only about 2 hours from here, hour 45. So if anyone's looking to get some good girls matches, some national level girls matches, I'd look into that. So anyway, we've been going at it for a while, so we're going to be back tomorrow night.
Yeah, I was just looking at some of the results from tonight.
Yeah.
A lot of good matches tonight.
Yeah, there were.
Jay County
Norwell.
over Norwell.
What do you say?
Is it Jay County over Norwell?
Yeah, Jay County over Norwell. I was watching that one live. Had some pretty good matches. Bloomington or Floyd Central over Bloomington South. So that was a another ranked match there.
Is it Ice over Miller or Mayer?
Meyer, yeah. Campbell over Meyer. New Haven Adams Central. And Snyder.
Couple interesting results in that New Haven Adams Central match.
Let me take a look. Doster over Cook. Cook was a state qualifier last year. Doster is up to 38.
I think there was a bump. Aiden Carter over Logan Ullman.
Oh, wow. That's a good win. That's a real good win.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's interesting. Any other... I know Snyder beat Belmont. Belmont had 3 forfeits. So, they have some kids out.
Yeah, the boy Duke didn't wrestle.
Yeah.
They forfeit the VZ.
He injury default.
Injury default. Okay.
He did a blast double, and I think hit the kid right in the chin, and that he bled out basically. It was a blood time. So, but they bumped VZ to 95, hoping for a Kukulhan match. It looks like, and Kukulhan bumped up to 220.
That's a guy I would be interested to see maybe going to Ironman down the road.
Yeah, definitely. That he's one that definitely should be looking to get into that event. I think it'd be good for him to get some exposure there. Obviously, he's done well at Fargo and stuff, so he'd get in. I 100% believe, especially at a bigger weight, would probably be a 75 or 90 next year, I assume. So he's one I guarantee that would be an easy yes to get into that, to get there. Yeah, some good. Yeah, that Joe County Norwell match. Man, that got kind of ugly late.
Southport Martinsville tie. Man, Briar Runyon is lifting a lot of weights. He is a big, strong guy, right?
Yes.
See it on Facebook. I'm like, man, he's probably not having to wrestle these guys. These guys are probably getting beat up. Stevie Drake probably got to wrestle Briar Runyon every day, and that does not look fun right now.
No.
It was probably never fun, but now, like, he's just and he's slamming around heavy weights all the time. Probably not fun at all.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think we are good for the night. We'll go over some of those results from this past weekend, and
yeah, a lot of good results, a lot of good wrestling.
Yep.
Talk some rankings.
Yeah, rankings. Talk about what's going on this weekend. So, yeah, we'll be back tomorrow night. Not probably about 9:30ish, 9:30ish, Eastern time, 8:30 if you're in the region. So we got lots to talk about, and anything else, I guess.
Man, today was a big information drop. So rankings. Was that today or that
yesterday? Yesterday we had 4 sets of rankings. One article this morning, and yeah, we had a lot of stuff going on the website, and all the team rankings. Team rankings got updated, so lots of stuff to keep you busy.
Get those results in the day, man. The team vote's coming up pretty soon. For the a lot of good wrestling's happening, but it'll be interesting to see who gets in, because I think there's been a lot of up and down results based on lineups and stuff like that. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, put in your in the detailed results so that we can tell who, so that they, not because I'm not in on it, but so they can tell, like, hey, oh wait, this was a little bit closer match. That's because you didn't have 3 starters or whatever. I know there's been some sicknesses going around, and yeah, I've seen it with some teams that.
You just seen what happened to me.
Yeah. KO'd you for.
That's like the first time I've been sick in like 4 years. I said, like, you were like, I knew you were really sick. You never miss Gorilla Radio. And I was trying to think, like, when's the last time I missed Gorilla Radio?
Yeah.
I know when the last time is, but the people before that.
Yeah. Yes. So, yeah. So yeah, you don't. It's and I'm like, as Wednesday got on, I'm like, he's not gonna be able to go. That text Thursday, I'm like, you're not going, are you? And no, I'm like, yeah, I didn't think so, which is what it is, and I definitely didn't want to have to babysit you, so
Thursday
thanks
was
for
worse
that.
because I was throwing up, and I was like, man, maybe I'll just drive out there, take some medicine. I'll feel better Friday, and then like as I'm like getting up to start moving around, I start throwing up, and I'm like, I'm not driving to Fort Wayne throwing up every couple miles.
Yeah, I would not want that in my truck. Thank you.
No, and it won't even be Blaze Pizza, just be life.
Yeah. So, anyway, we will be back tomorrow night, talk some more wrestling because that's what we do, and we'll see you tomorrow.
See you.